It's been a year since Gen Con 2022 has passed.
And let's head back in the Wayback Machine and see how well the games that we got held up. What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and yeah, we're going to be talking about the games we got at Gen Con 2022. We just did our 2023 haul. Make sure to follow the link up here for that video. But one of our lovely friends now, Bari, said, hey, you should do a kind of a retrospective of last year. Talk about the games you got from last year and like what games held up, what games you still have, what games you don't have. And we're like, oh, that's a really cool idea to kind of do a yearly Gen Con recap of the year before and see like, hey, did these games stick around?
Yeah, especially because we're always kind of moving forward. The whole hobby is, and especially us considering the job that we have, we're always moving forward to new games and stuff. So it's really cool to see like, did anything really stick around? Is anything really getting played regularly? What left an impression? What has been kind of forgotten, if anything? So yeah, we're gonna go through all the games, kind of give like a brief overview of slash review of those games. How they've held up, and then we'll do some superlatives at the end.
Yeah, like the one, what's held on the best? What's been the biggest surprise?
Let's get the blue ribbon. Put on that haul.
So let's go ahead and get into it. So last year we actually didn't have a humongous haul. I think it was one of our smallest Gen Con
I think the name
hauls.
was the most modest haul, and it was by far the smallest Gen Con we've had, especially compared to like this year. It was much more.
This year was big, but even
normal
then, compared to some other people, man. My gosh, we really don't bring home that many games. But one of the first we got was Get On Board New York / London. Yeah. So this is the kind of a new version of a game called Let's Make a Bus Route by Sashi and Sashi. Instead of being it's still a roll and write, but this is a game where everyone has their own bus routes and you're all in the same city. And in the original game, you all had like dry erase markers and you were drawing your routes on the board, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But it also kind of just got like kind of messy. And so they remade it, Yellow remade it. And
still same designers and stuff.
Same designers, but now you're putting down like little wooden logs,
matchsticks.
Yeah, like little matchstick looking things, and that's representing. And then you have your roll and write board over here, and it just makes it cleaner and just looks really, really nice. But Let's Make a Bus Route's really fun.
Yeah, so Get On Board is just a good time. Like you are drawing cards out that will pertain to a number 1 through 12. It's going to give you a route you have to draw, which will either be going straight or doing some amount of turns and things like that. But your 4 and my 4 are going to be different.
Yes.
And so it's really fun to be like, oh man, I really want to go straight through these intersections here because I'm trying to collect. You're basically trying to collect stuff as you reach those intersections.
Yeah, you're trying to pick up students and bring them to school.
Yeah, drop them off at school. So trying to do stuff in a specific order. You want to avoid the other players. And also not double back on yourself and break your route because you always have to be moving forward or else you lose immediately.
Indeed.
So there's some nice puzzliness with this one.
Yeah, and especially this one, you don't ever want to go along the same route as someone else because then there's too many buses on there, you're polluting the air.
Traffic.
And so you're constantly trying to avoid people as well, which gets tricky and it's fun.
Yeah, so this one's really fun. Like we knew we liked Let's Make a Bus Route. We always wanted it, didn't have access to it. So it's nice to have that. We now have the new one, Paris and Rome.
Yeah, which is also really fun.
Which is also really fun. It'll be in the next recap next year for Gen Con. So this is one that's really good. I'm glad to have like these two games. The only thing I wish is that, and we made our own, we laminated boards. I'm like, give us dry erase boards, man. At least for the you know, for you.
And I will say, I don't know if you need both versions of the game.
No, in fact, we're gonna nest them most likely into one box because you don't need both. They are similar. There's definitely differences, but like it's kind of like
they're similar.
The same vibe. Yeah. So, but yeah, really overall, great.
Holds up well.
Yeah, holds up really well. And that's Get On Board New York and London.
Indeed. We were given a copy of My City Roll and Ride. We did not technically pick this up at Gen Con. We were given by our good friend Dave Luza, which is a roll and ride version of My City.
Yes.
And apparently, I still haven't played it yet, but apparently it's quite good.
It's super fun.
You really like it a lot.
It's super duper fun. It's one I want to go through because you can play like a little campaign and it follows a lot of the events of My City. But this one is just like, you know, in the base game, My City, you're doing polyomino tile placement. You draw a card. Everyone has to add that specific color, tile, and shape to their board. And you're kind of like a lot of roll and write type games. You're going to start off maybe similar, but you're all going to make your own decisions and your boards end up very different. Of course, then you're stickering things and stuff like that. So this one uses dice to kind of create different shapes that you're going to have to then place. And then one of 3 kind of symbols you'll write in, which denote the kind of 3 different colors. It works super duper well. It's very My City-esque. One thing that's really nice is it's possible to roll a single square, which is not something that exists in My City. There's not a single square tile to place. Yeah. And it makes for a lot of like flexibility if you roll them. So I just enjoy just kind of the simplicity of you're just drawing on a sheet. and you get the flavor and can even do a campaign of My City. I think this is so good. I would even like recommend this maybe over My City for some people.
So I've heard, yeah.
Just because of the portability aspect of it, and you still get all that experience from My City. I'm playing through My City right now, and it's great too. But the roll and write is really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
It does such a good job of creating the exact same feel. And it's one I definitely want to play more. So, and I want to show you because it's great, and we could rip through that campaign
super easy,
in no time.
Yeah,
so,
super easy.
Super duper fun.
Well, yeah, so holds up. All right, cool. We pick up the Ark Nova map packs.
How'd you like them?
They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
I have played with them. Love Ark Nova. Basically love anything for Ark Nova. This was just some more. So Ark Nova is a game where you are building out a zoo, but each person has their own zoo, and they all have a little bit of like a special power, a little bit of a different
It's
thing
very
about them.
minimal, but it's there.
Very minimal, but it's there. And it's nice that you're like, oh, cool, mine does this. Oh, I want to put these things here because it's slightly different.
Build around this lake and get some money.
Nothing game breaking, just slight differences. And so they added essentially 2 more maps, which are double-sided. So it ended up being 4 maps total.
4 maps on 2 boards, which is
2
a gripe
card
of mine. It's just like, dude, you kind of want, I'd rather have almost them been one side's asymmetric, one side is basic, so you get 4 sheets so that every player in one game can play one of the new sheets. Yeah. It's impossible to do. So a lot of people bought double packs.
Yeah, a lot of people bought double packs.
To be able to kind of play like a game where everyone has a new map.
Yeah, I don't really care about that.
I understand on their side because like it probably was so much cheaper to do it this way. I don't blame them, but I'm like, oh, it would have been nice.
Yeah, either way. But nonetheless, they're great because Ark Nova is great and the new maps are cool. They don't do anything like crazy, but they're nice. And so, they hold up just because Ark Nova is great.
And they're easy because they go right in the box, and now they're just part of the created,
they were like
added
10,
variety.
$15. They were
very
cheap. So I was like, great. Yeah, so those were awesome. We picked up the Great Western Trail Rails to the North expansion.
Yeah, that one matched with the second edition of the new series they're doing. So this is the Rails to North expansion. Great as always. It felt like overall, Great Western Trail got an art upgrade. I know some people aren't so happy with the board, and maybe it's a little brighter and maybe a little more washed out in terms of determining where the trail goes. But the Rails to the North I thought was really beautiful because in the original stuff you kind of see that we're going to the north, but here they really paint it out to make it that kind of mountainscape show. Totally. It just feels really nice. It lines up really nicely with the board because you kind of overlay part of the
it's this
board.
Weird kind of like dual layer board kind of, but not really because it has to overlap the main board a little bit because basically now in Great Western Trail, you're going up and giving off your cattle, selling off your cattle, and then you're moving your train forward. So now how you move your train matters because there's a whole essentially area above the board where once you reach certain parts with your train, you now have access to these rails to the north. You have access to all this stuff, which will be more places to deliver cattle. You're putting out these little buildings called branchlets, and those can give you different station things, different bonuses and stuff like that. And so now I like it a lot because by far my least favorite part of Great Western Trail is the train part. I just think it's boring. And
very
Rails to the
mechanical.
North kind of made that part interesting for me. And so I really like it. In this new version, nothing changed in this version really. It's just new art and it looks great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It just works well. We really enjoy the new editions of Great Western Trail. We'll talk about Argentina here in a second. It just kind of was nice to get the expansion. And we knew we liked the expansion. There wasn't really a surprise here.
No.
We were like, great, it goes right in the box. We're all good to
Perfect,
go.
yeah.
So now our Great Western Trail is complete and fresh and new and stuff. Speaking of Great Western Trail, we actually got our copy of Great Western Trail Argentina a few weeks after Gen Con, but we did play it at Gen Con. We did kind of a demo raffle
And we were
with a
hoping to
couple
get it
of
at
people.
Gen Con, didn't quite get there in time. So, but
but we got a chance to play it
for this one.
Yeah, still count it. Great Western Trail Argentina, we had heard this announcement of the series. We're like, what are they going to do?
The trilogy.
What's going to change? Is it purely going to be a thematic change or what's going to happen here? And both of us were delighted by Great Western Trail Argentina.
I really like it.
The things they beef up, we've talked a lot about it over the last year. The things that they added, changed, really had to do a lot with delivering your cattle to Buenos Aires, where you now deliver your cattle and you put your disc on a ship. So it's not just like based on where your train has gone to. You still are moving a train in the game, but you're putting discs on a ship based on the kind of breeding value of your cattle.
Yeah.
And you need to feed grain as well as just have a certain breeding value to go on that ship because they are going over to Europe and they got to eat something. So it's really fun to kind of place these things on a ship. And then at 3 points in the game, those ships are going to sail over to Europe, and based on what ships you place on, they will go to one of 3 different cities and into different keys based on where they again, what ships they came from. And then you have a chance later, as you're doing more deliveries, to bring those discs in those cities down into different spaces for points and money and stuff like that. So I just love the kind of, you delivered them, but you then you get to do something else with that disc later.
It's this weird delayed delivery system. Or rather, it's not supposed, because you deliver in the same way, but then there's an extra step to the delivery, I suppose. There's a whole nother game on top of that.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Because again, it takes the part that I think is kind of boring, which is the train parts and the delivery part. It makes it more interesting. So I really like it. Then you add the granjeros, which are they kind of take the place of hazards. They're farmers now that you can employ into you, and they get you grain and stuff like that. So they added another kind of wrinkle to the game that I just think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So it felt like the changes were really meaningful. It's 80% Great Western Trail, but that 20% is really fun to play with and really gave some interesting stuff. Kind of beefed it up on the strategic, complexity level a little bit. So that's something to consider, but we didn't mind that at all because we love Great Western Trail, and I was happy. I wouldn't start with it, but super happy to have it. So that one was awesome. We got to again play it for the first time at Gen Con and received our copy from Plan B shortly after that. So that was super cool. Next up we got the Mandala Stones Harmony expansion, which is
we actually haven't played
it yet. But it comes with these white discs that you put on the stacks during setup of all of the, I think there's 12 pillars or so of these discs as you collect them. They act in a couple different ways. They act as kind of a wild for the purposes of pulling off stones off your stacks and scoring. And then I think there's something you can do when you place them onto the scoreboard to do you have another choice there. Which is kind of cool. So it just adds a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of different stuff to consider, but being very minimal in terms of components and stuff. We haven't played Mandala Stones in quite a while. It's just not one that hits the table very often, even though we enjoy it.
I do like it a lot
when we play. So we haven't played that yet. And we also haven't played the next game is Wicked and Wise.
Yes.
So those are 2 games we've gotten that we have not played. This is a trick-taking game that honestly is, I really love the idea of, because you're playing in teams. If you're playing, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, I think it plays up to 6.
Yeah.
It's a trick-taking game where you are going to be dragons or mice, and they have different powers and abilities. And I think if you throw off and play the lowest card, you get to trigger the ability of that card.
It seems
you have
really
kind of different
cool.
goals depending on if you're a mouse or a dragon, but we just don't have often the player count.
And I've heard it plays good at 2, but I want to play it at 4.
You want to play 4.
Yeah, I want to play it at 4, and so we keep being no, we're gonna wait, and we just don't have any opportunities.
And then when we do finally come together like that, we're usually playing something else, something new, or something we know, or whatever. So it's it just hasn't come together yet.
It hasn't happened. I'm sure it's gonna. Though.
Yeah, we're hanging on to it for now because it's got great Beth Sobel art and stuff, but it just has not happened.
Yeah, really cool. I picked up Scout. Scout is a really great game that we've talked about many times. Definitely holds up because we really enjoy it. And so Scout is a game, it's a ladder climbing game where you have a hand of cards that you're not allowed to rearrange. And you're playing out cards that are greater than what was on the table right now. So Mike put out a 1, I could put out a 2. Then the next person can put out a 3, 4. And then to beat a single card, you can use 2 cards. Any 2 cards beats any single card. So 2 1s or 2 2s or a 1 and a 2, a straight. And then pairs beat straight. So if Mike put down a 9-10, I could put down 2 1s and beat that one. And then 3 cards beats 2 cards, 4 cards beats 5 cards, that kind of stuff.
Higher pair beats a lower pair.
So you're ladder climb. You're constantly putting down higher and higher and higher stuff. But again, the wrinkle in the game is that, I'm saying a lot, wrinkle, that's my thing.
This is Nick's word
the wrinkle in the
game.
game.
Wrinkle.
The wrinkle is that you can't rearrange your hand. And so, and then to play cards out, you have to play cards that are next to each other. So if you want to put down 2 6s, they have to be next to each other so you can put them down like that. So much of the game is just trying to get your hand into something cohesive. Because you're I have a 7 here and 2 7s here, and then there's a 4 in the middle. If I can play this forward, now I have 3 7s. And now I have a pretty strong play. And so that's all it is, and it's just so much fun. This is a game that we take everywhere, play a lot. It's been one of my favorite games.
It's fantastic, especially for me. I really want to play this game at 4 and only at 4. But
I'm less picky about the player count. But
it's a little too.
It's best at 4. I'll give you that. Yeah, for sure.
It's just best at 4. That's all it is. But it's so portable that it's always going to come with us places. There's no doubt. You can put it in your pocket. So that is awesome. The theme really sings.
It does. The circus
It's colorful. It doesn't matter.
Comes through.
It's colorful. It has little cannons and different circus things. It doesn't matter. But
it's one of those games where I don't care if there's a theme.
Absolutely
I'm not expecting there's a theme. Trick-taking games, I don't care if there's a theme.
No,
whatever.
it's not necessary. The next game we have is Cat in the Box.
Yes, indeed.
Which does have more theme, at least more theme imposed upon it, even though it's all kind of wacky and crazy. This is a trick-taking game that I think has such a cool concept. It is a trick-taking game where all the cards in the game are black. They have no suit, but there are 4 colors. You can play yellow, green, blue, or red. Yep. As you go, and as you play a card, you basically decide what suit it is.
Yes.
So I'm going to put my 3 on the blue, meaning I've now played a blue 3.
Yep.
And you're going to put a little token, assuming it's available on the board, onto the blue 3 space. And that's kind of where the trickiness comes in, is you have to play a card that legally you can. So there's a central board where you're putting tokens on, and you can only place a token on a space that's empty. And that basically means you can only play cards that pertain to empty spaces on that central board. Yeah. And what you're trying to do is play stuff in such a way that you cause it so that someone else cannot play and causes a paradox. Yeah. I think that's super duper cool. I love the idea of like assigning suits as you play them. It's really neat. For us, this game, we need to play it, give it a couple more chances. We've only ever played it at the maximum 5-player count, which I do not recommend you do. Yeah. It's too long. It's too crazy. It's just too much.
It's too much.
Because in this game, you're doing trick taking. You have to stay alive, so you have to play cards in such a way that you can always play a token out. You're also trying to predict how many tricks you win, because every time you play a hand, the highest card that gets played and stuff, or if it's a red, the trump suit or whatever, wins the trick. You're trying to predict how many tricks you're going to win. You can be punished if you're wrong. As you put those tokens out, you're going to score the biggest contiguous group you have. There's just so many elements that it just feels like too much.
It's too much. I'll tell you right now, it's too much. I want to try this game at least one more time. Probably like 3 or 4. I don't think I'm going to like it. I have no real interest in this game because there's too much going on. You have to predict how many tricks you're going to win. You can only play one of each color and number on that board. If you can't play, if someone's played a blue 7, you can't then play a blue 7. You
lose access to playing blue entirely.
Exactly. So you lose access, then you can't play that anymore. You're also trying to get a bunch of your pieces on that number board next to each other because you're trying to score a big contiguous group. There's paradoxes. There is too much for a trick-taking game for me in this game. I do not want this many things in a trick-taking game. I like trick-taking games to have 1, maybe 2 things on top of it. Like Crew is like, hey, it's cooperative. You're trying to do these missions. This game, you're trying to do this. Like in Claim, it's like trick-taking, but there's different factions. I want like 1 extra thing, something like Niet or Indulgence, where it's like the scoring changes every round. It's
sure.
That. I'm down for like trick taking with like 1 extra thing to make it different. This game has too many. It has like 4, and some people love it. I do not like it. It's too much. I have no real interest in playing it. It's too many things to track, and to me, it takes away the entire purpose of a trick-taking game, which is like, it's just relatively simple, and you can sit there and play tricks and do stuff. And to me, it's like, now I'm thinking about this, and like, okay, I got to predict how many I'm going to win, and I'm trying to get like area control things over here. I'm like, I'm done. I don't like it. It's just too much. So I want to try to get a lower player count. Maybe that'll change it. I don't think it's going to for me personally. It's just too much. That's just how I feel about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, I just kind of wish they didn't deal with like the paradox and then having to predict how many tricks you win.
Yeah,
I wish they'd kept like just playing cards and putting out things and trying to stay alive as long as you can, and like that's kind of enough game for me. I agree with you. I think there's 1 too many things, but I do want to try to lower player count and see if it's at least short enough and maybe a little less chaotic so you can kind of predict and feel a little more strategic. Because at 5, it's just by the time it comes back around to you, maybe all the cards you want to play are now gone. And you're kind of like, well, that's not like a strategic error I made.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Cat in the Box.
Does not hold up, at least for me.
Fair enough. Well, it does hold up well for us is Turing Machine. Turing Machine
it's kind of a last minute get at Gen Con.
A last minute get because it sold out very quickly. We were able to get a copy from Hachette directly, who has Scorpion Mask under them, and thank you to Hachette for that. Mm-hmm. And we did get a chance to play it at the con. We saw like Paula Deming playing it, and I asked her like, "What? Okay, so tell me what you're doing." And she explained some stuff, said some words. I was like, "I don't understand what that means."
Still,
and then we moved on. And then I found it, we got it home, played it, figured it out, and then was amazed.
Yeah.
Amazed by it. This is a game where it's just a pure deduction, logical reasoning kind of game. where you're trying to make a 3-number code. This is on Board Game Arena. It works amazingly on Board Game Arena. So if you haven't played it yet, get after it. But it's really fun physically too, because you create this little analog computer in front of you. And you are trying to get a 3-number code. And the numbers are between 1 and 5. And there are going to be verifiers, which essentially give you the rules. If you can, by asking questions of the verifiers, you will figure out the rules of the code. Yeah. It's going to be that the yellow and the blue, when you add them together, are going to be greater than 6, for example. Exactly. And if you figure out that, yes, indeed, it is greater than 6, well, now you know it's not a blue 1 and a yellow 3, because those wouldn't be higher than 6. So you find out verifiers, and based on that, you're trying to ask basically as few questions as possible to deduce down that there can only be one possible clue that fits these specific verifiers. There will always be exactly one answer possible.
Until the trader mode comes out.
Yeah, right? You're the trader to yourself because you make silly deductions you shouldn't have. It's so amazing. Yeah. It's just pure, clean deduction, nothing else going on, and that's what makes it so fun and fascinating to just get in and solve those puzzles.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Everything Mike said, perfect.
It's amazing.
We picked up a copy of Too Many Cooks, which is given to us by next couple were given to us by Good Games Publishing. This is one. We thought it was a remake of a trick-taking game, also called Too Many Cooks, which is now also being remade, but not by Good Games.
It's a Knizia game. This is a different game.
And this is a game where we got a demo of this. We played this at Gen Con itself. Ended up coming home with a copy. And honestly, Mikey, what do you do in this game?
So you have a tableau of...
I'll tell you right now, we don't have it anymore.
We don't have it anymore. You're trying to make all the chefs happy and stuff. So you all have like kind of ways that you need this tableau, this grid of cards.
That's right. That's
which have ingredients and colors. And so you need it to be that you need to have like reds in the 4 corners or something, for example. And you can only communicate that you as a chef are happy or unhappy. So it has a little bit of, if you played like decorum.
Yes.
Where.
That's right, yeah.
I'm happy, this works for me. And you're like, this does not work for me. But there is an answer to the puzzle.
Yes.
And you can either swap 2 cards or I think slide cards down in the row and bring something around the other side. So it's really simple in terms of how it functions and stuff. And it is satisfying to play, but it's one of those things I'm like, we do have decorum. Yeah. It's a little bit of a mess of cards. And this game kind of goes on for a while because you play through several escalating levels of difficulty where it gets very hard. Yeah. And I think there's maybe a timed element as well.
I think so, yeah.
So it's just one of those things where it was just like, we have another game that kind of does the same thing simpler and better. And so we didn't keep it, but it's not a bad game.
Not at all. I remember enjoying it, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, it was kind of one of those things like, we don't have a place for this in our collection. It's not going to get played. We will play decorum over this every single time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it is not with us anymore.
Yeah, that's okay though. But nonetheless, we played Funfair as well. This is the nicer version of Unfair, also by Good Games Publishing. And Funfair is a game. I actually just replayed this. At Gen Con. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I played it with Tara and Shay.
Nice.
Because Shay had got a copy of it, and so he wanted to play it. And so I was like, I'll relearn it real quick. So I actually just replayed this.
Right on.
But yeah, so this is a game where you're building out an amusement park.
Building a tableau of cards to represent your attractions, employees, things like that.
Yeah, and so you're drawing these cards and you're getting different attractions. The attractions could be like roller coasters, like kind of like flat rides or like dark rides, food places, those kinds of things. And then you can add features to those things. So if you have like a restaurant, you can add like air conditioning to it. If you have great idea. If you have a roller coaster,
you can add a flip to it.
You can add like a loop or like a corkscrew to it. And there's a lot of these features that you can't add a corkscrew to like a flat ride because that wouldn't make any sense.
Man, that'd be
a merry-go-round, but only one of those horses just starts freaking out.
A free gyro spinning thing.
So you're getting these cards and you're putting them out. You're having to pay for them, and then you can get employees, and the employees give you special powers. And it's a cool game. And then everyone has like a special attraction that it costs a lot of money, but you can build it out there. And then you can put themes on it. Like this one's got a jungle theme. This one's got like an adventure theme.
Love
and
that
it's
part.
Cool. And there's like some goals that you're going for. You can draw these blueprint cards, which essentially are going to be like kind of like objectives that you can go for. There's some public objectives. It's cool. It's chill.
It's quick.
There's not too much player interaction. It's not mean like Unfair was. And I like it. It's cool and it's just fun to be like, oh, I'm going to build this. I'm going to put a flagpole on top of this one.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, I'm going to do that. It's a cool little game.
It has a satisfying ramp up because you can kind of keep adding on to your attractions. And from round to round to round, you'll have more and more stuff and you generate more and more excitement.
And you want lots of stuff on those rides and stuff because they're better. They're more appealing.
You want to be S tier. You want to be Disney vibe rides. You want absolute best you can on all the things. It's nice and it's quick. Great art by Mr. Cuddington.
So it holds up. It's good.
It's solid. Solid little tableau builder.
The next game we got from them was Land vs. Sea. So this is a 2-player game where one of you is the land, one of you is the sea, and you're basically just putting out these tiles, essentially trying to get essentially, which is interesting about this game, is you're not really trying to get like one giant area of land. You want a bunch of little areas of land.
Kind of, yeah. You want to complete if you're the land player or the sea player, and you can play 3 and 4 player, which creates different things, but
it's mostly a 2-player game.
You want to create little areas, kind of like Carcassonne, where you create the land is finished and surrounded by water, so now it's a little island. And based on that, if you're the land player, I think you're going to score if there's like mountains in those tiles and stuff. If you're the water player, it's like
coral reefs, I think.
Coral reefs and stuff. So there's like. But it's interesting is like every single tile has land and water on it. So you don't want to play something that inadvertently just completes a water area for you. And so it's really tactical. And there are these hexagonal tiles and stuff. And it is really interesting and puzzly because you're directly competing and you don't want to add on. And it's sometimes difficult to not help out your opponent. But maybe I'm going to get more out of this than Nick will. So it's, kind of worth it to me. There's some interesting stuff. And there's all these kind of levels of complexities you can add to it. There's different symbols and stuff on the tile that you can then mitigate how you score.
Trade routes.
Yeah.
Or you can also just not play with any of those. You can kind of just play the base game. So it's nice because you can kind of ramp it up and make it more complex if you want to.
A lot to explore, for sure.
So it's very cool. Next thing we got was Terracotta Army. We got this from Board and Dice, so thank you for that.
Shouts out Board and Dice.
Yeah, this is a game where you are building out the Terracotta Army, which is the army made out of clay that was buried in ancient China. And you are building that out, the Terracotta Army, in the mausoleum. And you're getting actions from this like big action wheel where you're kind of using a piece of the pie. And you get to do the actions.
You always do 3 actions from it.
You always do 3 actions. And there's like specialists you can get, which can do kind of cool things. But a lot of what you're doing is you're then building these statues, which are these like cool looking minis. And then you're putting them in the mausoleum and you're essentially trying to make like groups of them and you want certain ones next to other things and you're essentially going for like area control in this mausoleum. And you can like sometimes move stuff around and there's these inspectors going around the mausoleum and there's all this kind of like knife fighting going on in there where you're trying to
jockeying for position.
I'm going to put this one here to screw up Mike. Now this one's going to make it for me. And it's really, really fun. I really like Terracotta Army a lot. And it's got a really cool theme too.
It's got a really cool theme. It's kind of on the simpler side for a board and dice game because there's just clay and coins in terms of resources you're working with, which I appreciate. In a 2-player game, you're taking more action, so you still do fill up that mausoleum really well, and that area control feels impactful. And you can manipulate, again, which row and column the inspectors go to. Nick is really adept at doing that. So I build all those things like, well, the inspector's over here now. I'm like, I don't love that. It's got a lot of really fun stuff going on. Cool theme, of course. One that we've enjoyed a lot over the last year. Yeah.
All right, the last game we got a Crokinole board.
Got a Crokinole board. Our buddy Dan was with us at Gen Con and played in a Crokinole tournament and won at least their part of the tournament and was gifted a Crokinole board. Dan already has a Crokinole board, so he's like, do you want this board? Which was an adventure to get home. But we did do it, and it was amazing. So it's like a tournament level board. So it's definitely not the highest level.
No, it's seen some days.
Yeah, but it absolutely
still Crokinole, baby.
It slides just fine. So it's been really fun to have a board to play on. We played. My daughter had her first birthday, and we put it out on our fire pit. It was all covered up and stuff, we got to play out there. I was just like, man, it's just such a good, simple, fun dexterity game, and I'm so happy to have a board we can literally play anytime. And it's always super duper fun. So thank you, Dan, for winning
that tournament.
And then being like, here you go. Because we've always wanted a Crokinole board.
I love it.
So those are the games that we got from Gen Con. Crokinole, of course, always holds up forever. It's held up for hundreds of years. But now that we've talked about everything, let's go over some superlatives.
So we're going with some superlatives. I think these like in the back of your yearbook where, it's like I don't know, the quirkiest, the funniest,
Yeah.
the one that's gonna be famous.
Most likely to be in prison.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that was my school's
Exactly.
experience.
But nonetheless, and so if you have the other superlatives, put it in the comments and we'll answer for you if you have any questions.
I like it.
So first thing is biggest hit from this year.
This has to be Scout.
Yes. Biggest hit / most played, we'll say for sure.
Yeah, for us, I'd say from the con, it'd be Scout and Cat in the Box because they were, for one, 2 games that were at the con, and many publishers did not have their games or did not have many copies of their games. Scout was a game that every single person in that building bought.
Yeah, it sure felt like it.
And everyone was playing it. We played it a ton that week. Could not get enough of it because it was so playable. We didn't really play hardly any games at Gen Con last year, but one we did was Scout.
Yeah. And it has been played over and over again in that year that we've had it.
Those cards, we could use a new copy at this point because those cards have got some mileage on them.
I know in the original Japanese version, they're plastic cards, which I usually don't love plastic cards, but man, they do hold up a lot better.
Yeah.
Scout was the biggest hit from the con and definitely our most played of that. What one had the best staying power, you think?
This one I'd go Turing Machine.
Yeah.
Because there's no amount of puzzles that is too many to solve. You get your code, move on to a new puzzle, do it again. There's gonna be new verifiers, a new answer. It is just infinitely playable. There's a million combinations of puzzles and stuff that are algorithmically created and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can go to their website, Scorpion Mask, and just get there's even like the daily puzzle. So it's like a Wordle and stuff.
Yeah.
The turtle, I call it. It's never less fun to get the answer to that code. It is never less satisfying. It just maintains.
Yeah, it really does. And you can play it forever. Turing Machine has the staying power where it's like, and again, now it's on BGA, it's like,
and we've talked a lot about this. Like the fact that it is themeless and it's just a simple puzzle means it'll never get boring to do that.
Or the theme will never like go out of style or anything like that, right? It's like,
it serves it so
well. We don't
well.
like space anymore.
Yeah, it's just like we don't believe in it anymore. It's just great.
I believe in Cube Earth.
Cube Earth. Ooh, I like that. That's baller.
Yeah, whenever you see the horizon, it goes in the cube.
Oh, that's true. It is flat.
Science. So we're gonna say best overall, probably Great Western Trail Argentina. Again, this wasn't the biggest haul, but like we love Great Western Trail, and we both really like Great Western Trail Argentina. And I would say, at least me, I think I probably like it a little bit more than base Great Western Trail.
I agree with that very much. I like having the 4th type of employee slash hazard. There's a new resource grain to deal with. The terrain creates shortcuts. Again, all those things that we talked about in the first section. The changes from base Great Western Trail, for us, all of them are really interesting and cool. The buildings you can build, this version of the game, I should say, is what finally got me to get really interested in building buildings in Great Western Trail, which I know I need to do more of in general because those buildings are amazing. But here, you can start doing deliveries from your building. So I was like, this is incredible. It's the high watermark overall. I mean, that gives you that theme, the mechanically sound, design, art, everything, best kind of complete package.
Yeah. And this would be like not staying in the collection or gone.
Yeah. What's on the chopping block?
On the chopping block, well, we mentioned Tuning Cooks. We did not end up keeping. It's just one of the things that, again, cool game. We'll just never end up playing it. We just won't. It just we'll grab other games like Decorum instead of it. Just want to get and play. It was part of our charity bundle that we gave away. It's like someone else can play this. That's great. Yeah. Cat in the Box, again, even if we do, I think we still have it, but it's like even if we do play it at a lower player count, still like it, I do not think I'm going to like it. I don't think I'm ever going to want to play it.
That's the main thing, is Nick is definitely kind of out on it. I'm still more in the, like, let's wait and see.
Like, if Mike ends up loving it at 3 or 4, maybe we'll keep it for that, but I kind of doubt it, because Mike, are we going to choose it over any other trick-taking game?
No.
For me, no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Another one is going to be Land versus Sea.
Yeah.
It might stick around. That's not a knock on the game itself.
Not at all. I think it's a great game.
It's just one that, like, we'll reach for other games more often. If it's kind of we think of it as a 2-player game, tactical kind of game. We have things like Unmatched, just other games that we'll probably play over Land versus Sea.
Yeah, and there's a concept that's like, something can be great and you still never reach for it. You know, you can acknowledge that this is a great game, but for whatever reason, you just don't ever put it on the table. I feel like Land versus Sea is going to be one of those for us.
That's what we're thinking. It might fall in that category.
So it's still here. We'll see, but I got a hunch it'll probably end up in the next call is my assumption.
Biggest surprise? Because I wouldn't say Great Western Trail Argentina was a surprise because we knew pretty much that we were going to like it because it was Great Western Trail.
Yeah, I mean,
what was the surprise for you?
We kind of both talk about Turing Machine. I think that is the honest one because again, a lot of the games we got at this particular Gen Con, we knew we were going to like, or at least had a good hunch. Turing Machine, we didn't really know. I didn't know anything about it.
I was massively intrigued because all I heard was like you create an analog computer and you're trying to deduce a code. It's made by the same people that made like Decrypto. They clearly do clever stuff.
Yes,
that's all we knew.
Yeah. And that's and
then we got something that was way up there.
I mean, real talk. And so it has to be the biggest surprise because it was just we didn't know anything about it. We're just confused by it, and it turned out to be so good.
Massively confused.
Games we still haven't played. We kind of talked about Wicked Wise and the Mandala Stones expansion. Still really, really want to play Wicked Wise. I think it's going to stay in our collection because I've heard it's really, really good. We just need to get the right player count and learn it beforehand. Like we're playing this at the next game day, whatever. And the Mandala Stones expansion. We'll play next time we play Mandala Stones. I just don't know what that's going to be.
I mean, that's nice because it's just in the same box as Mandala Stones. It's not taking up any space to do it.
What about games you want to try again next?
Okay, so for me, one is Fun Fair. So you just recently did play this. I haven't played it in a while.
We'll play it again. It's great. I like it.
Yeah. I also really want to show you the My City Roll and Write, which we taled about, and I really want to play Terracotta Army again because we played it a few times.
Yeah, we played it a bunch when we first got it.
We played it a bunch when we first got it, and it's been a few months now.
It's been a while.
We might not have actually played it this year. If we did, it was in the early part of the year. So I'd love to play it again. It's just been a while.
I would also specifically like to play it at a higher player count.
Me too. I'd love to see what it does.
I really, really, really like it at 2, and I think I'll prefer it at 2, but
I think like a lot of those games, 3 will be the sweet spot.
Probably. I do want to try a different player count, but we want to get it back to the table because it's just it's been a little while.
Yeah.
And then Great Western Trail Argentina, I'd like to get back to the table. It's been a little while since we played that.
That's fair.
We have been playing New Zealand lately.
As it happens, which is also great. Nick, not to end on a downer, but what would be the game? I know my answer that you say is the most cooled on. For me, it's Scout. And it's not a knock. It's just we played so much Scout last summer, last fall. And this kind of happened with Furnace a few years ago where we played it so much that I kind of was like, I'm good for now. Scout's not going anywhere. But for me, I'd say this game I'm most cooled on, but it's not at all to do with, the flaws of the game are now showing up or any of that stuff. I'm just like, I play a lot of Scout. I don't know.
I honestly,
and I personally really want to play it at 4-player, which I don't have that often.
That's the thing. I honestly, I don't really have an answer to this. I don't think I've cooled on any of them. I either didn't really love them or did like them and still like them. I'm just a
straight up hater.
Well, I will say this for Scout. I want to play it at 4 if I can, for sure. I don't hate it at 3. I don't want to play it at 2. I don't hate it at 3. I don't hate it at 5. I know other people are like, it's impossible to play at those player counts. I think it's fine. Personally, I just don't think it's that big.
I don't think it's impossible, but I think 4 is the sweet spot
4 is the
because
best,
it's possible to go around the table and not have anyone be able to beat you. And 3, it's a little too easy to do that for me. And 5, it's really impossible to do it. But it is playable all those. Because I played it so much, I'm like, if I'm playing it, I really want that 4-player count.
That's fair. Yeah, I just don't care. So to me, I haven't cooled on it because it doesn't.
There you go.
I still want to play just as much. I will say the only reason, like, if you can say I've cooled on it, I haven't really cooled on it. It's just like another game has kind of replaced it as that small game we bring everywhere and we try and play with everybody, and that's Nana.
Sure.
Now at this point, anytime we're going anywhere, I'm like, let's bring Nana. If people want to play, I want to play Nana right now.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like it kind of hasn't gotten replaced. It's not like I'll never play Scout again. I want to play Scout as much as possible. But it's not the go for this entire year. Scout was we're bringing it everywhere. We're probably gonna try and play it. All this kind of stuff, and that for me is now Nana. But again, it doesn't mean Scout's any worse. It's just
I mean, when I traveled to AirCon in Ireland in March, I brought Scout, and it was one of the games I absolutely played at the con a bunch. And that won't ever again. For me, it's only cooled because it started off so high up.
Yeah. For me, I'm still as hot.
Still here, still right here.
But unless that's kind of a cool look back at Gen Con 2022. Again, shout out to Naira Bar for giving us the idea for this one.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thought it was a cool one. So we'll do again this next year, talking about 2023 games. We'll probably have more stuff to talk about because we picked up more stuff.
Yeah. So many of them we have not played, by the way. So it's like we got to.
Well, 2023, but we just got back. So
that's fair.
We'll take a look. We've played a couple of them. But nonetheless, if you have any questions about these games, please let us know down in the comments. We'll try and answer if we can.
And as always, please feel free to suggest types of videos you want to see. Any kind of idea, because this was one that was thrown out, and we were like, that is a really cool idea.
Fun idea.
Never would have thought of it on our own, and we aim to please here. We are here to entertain you. So As always, please let us know what we can do to aid in that journey. And we'll see y'all next time. I am Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph. That was a look back at Gen Con 2022. Let us know in the comments your favorite game from last year that released in the summertime, we'll say. Thanks so much for watching a Gen Con recap from last year. It's fun to take a look at games from the past. Again, let us know
going to Gen Con.
What game. That's how Nick walks through Gen Con. Elbows out, bumping everybody. He don't care. He takes.
It's better than a giant backpack or a wagon that some people drag behind them.
Like, if you're in a wagon, you better be in that thing driving. It better be a go-kart.
Awesome.
Like, just go full send. Anyway, check out some videos over there. Big shouts out to our channel sponsors, Lucky Duck Games, Restoration Games, and Board Game Geek. Go to Board Game Geek to look at Gen Con and now the Essen Spiel preview.
It's already out.
Hello, more games are coming soon.
Let's be honest, it's already Christmas.
Yeah.